Hello, my friends, and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. I'm pretty sure little by little the truth will come out regarding the terrorist attacks in Moscow that killed about 140 people. You know, those guys that were allegedly apprehended, they're the suspects. The Russians point the finger at the Ukrainians, and now they point the fingers, or they try to link it to the US involvement. I covered that in a video I made earlier today. But hey, we got a Dutch member of the European Parliament who comes and says that Moscow terrorist attack planned and paid by Ukraine. Like always, when you make a statement, you have to bring evidence. You support your statements, your arguments with evidence, right? So let me show you this little article from Sputnik and show you the Dutch MP, MEP, who's claiming this. Now, could that be called irrational? Could that be called craziness? Could that be called courageous? We'll find out. So let's put a name and a face and some information on this. So Sputnik. Moscow terrorist attack planned and paid by Ukraine, Dutch MEP. The Russian Investigative Committee said on Friday that the perpetrators of the Moscow concert hall attack drove to the border with Ukraine, intending to then travel to Kiev to collect their reward. The terrorist attack at the Crocus City Hall music venue last week was planned and paid by Ukraine, Marcel de Graaff, a member of the European Parliament from the Netherlands, has said. Well, let's say, Marcel, what do you say? And I'm quoting Marcel. I'm thinking, right? More than 130 dead in Moscow from terrorist attack planned and paid by Ukraine. End quote. De Graaff wrote on X, formerly Twitter, and I'm quoting, hence, the urban legend of propaganda paid for by Russia. Because we must continue to hate them, because soon our children will have to die in the battlefield to protect the financial interests of the Western elite. End quote. This is what Marcel de Graaff said. His comments came as Russia's investigative committee reported that the suspects in last week's Papapa were linked to Ukraine's nationalists. The perpetrators received significant sums of money, and quote from Ukraine, the investigative committee said. Russian Foreign Ministry spokeswoman Maria Zakharova said earlier that Ukraine has become a center for the spread of terrorism in Europe over the past 10 years with the help of the West. Now we know what's going on over there. The four main suspects in the case, all citizens of Tajikistan, were arrested and charged with terrorism. The Crocus City Hall terrorist attack was the deadliest act of terrorism in Russia in nearly 20 years. So let's see who Marcello Mastroianni is. Marcel de Graaff is a Dutch politician. He has been a member of the European Parliament for the Netherlands since February 2020 and previously served between 2014 and 2019. He represented the Party of Freedom and was co-president of the Europe of Nations and Freedom. De Graaff was a member of the Senate of the Netherlands for the PVV from 2011 to 2014. So he was born in Rotterdam on the 7th of April, 1962. He studied theology. De Graaff worked as a consultant for IT. Papa, he was a teacher of religion at a secondary school in Rotterdam. He also was a manager for Papapap company. All right, so who's this lad? Here he is. This is Marcel de Graaff. Okay, now we know who's who was what. He looks a little bit different nowadays, but nevertheless, you can identify him. And the evidence is? None so far, but this is something interesting. If you would go outside and you would claim that the government did something like committed a criminal act on certain direction or so on, you could be sued and you could lose your job, and there could be prosecution pushed against you. So there would be consequences. This person makes this claim. He didn't provide any evidence, but he's not, so far, attacked in court. He's not sued. He's not losing his job so far. So what's going on? A lot of people can say a lot of things, that's true, and you could be outside of the jurisdiction of certain kind of institutions. But he is an MEP, correct? So a member of the so-called European Parliament. You would expect some, I don't know, legal action to be started against him, initiated against him. Nothing, as far as I know, so far. Now, did the Ukrainians do it? I don't know. Does he know it? I don't know. The point is, if these guys at that position start saying things like this, and they do not get legally opposed, that might suggest that those guys who could initiate something, they know that the truth is about to come out with evidence and facts. Now, this is just an assessment of the situation. I don't know if that's true or not, but I don't think he could be this, how should I put it, irrational to make a statement without having some evidence. Because if he uses as evidence the Russian statements, no. Why? Because the Russians did not prove yet that the Ukrainians were really involved. They say, well, the only thing that they have is two things, the Russians so far as I know. Maybe you have more information. One, these guys were moving towards Ukrainian border, which I pointed out being caught where they were caught. In Bryansk, I think they were caught. Bryansk Oblast, if I remember correctly. If they were caught over there, let me show you where. That was at the border with Belarus as well. And Bryansk, correct. So, as I said in the initial video I made, this is Ukraine right here. This is Russia. And this is Belarus. And they were caught in here somewhere. This is Bryansk. Now, this is Belarus. This is Ukraine. I don't know. So this is the evidence. They were caught here, going here. Now, if they were going to Ukraine, obviously they would try to go somewhere where you're protected. Where were they supposed to go? To Tajikistan? Where? To Iran? Where they were supposed to go? The closest thing from Moscow to Ukraine, knowing that probably those guys will probably. Now, I don't know if they were paid or not, but that was one evidence. And the other one is, according to the Russians, they have evidence that these guys were financed. They have supposedly bank transfer receipts, and statements coming from these guys under the interrogation process, saying that yes, the Ukrainians gave us money that they were waiting for us in Kiev to give us the reward. Now, if you are under these kind of situations, I guarantee you say things that you've never done. So I don't think those guys. I mean, those guys. If the Russians wanted them to say that they came from the moon, these guys would have said it. All right, and they came through Mars, and then I don't know wherever else. That's the way it goes, and it doesn't work only in Russia. That works everywhere, my friends. When you have an interest, and in this case, remember those guys destroyed what? At least 2 countries on the lie. Weapons of mass destructions, and those guys were the guys. Remember, yeah, Iraq and Afghanistan. And then what? What happened? Nothing. Some people made some money. Some businesses became bigger. Some interests that Mr. de Graaff says, financial interest, got fatter and fatter and fatter. The war in Ukraine will not end until those interests will start losing money. And when they start losing money, then all of a sudden, everybody will be willing to, maybe we should make peace with the Russians. Maybe they have a point here with their national security concerns. All of a sudden. So again, I would like to hear more evidence coming from Marcel de Graaff, but this person saying it begs the question, okay, who's next? Who's going to say it next? Some non-Russian from where? I don't know, from France? Marine Le Pen zipped it, what's his name, Geert Wilders, that I called Great Wilders, and some people did not catch that, but anyway. They kept pointing in their comments, it's not great, it's Geert. spell it right. No, it's great, Villers. But we just stay, thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.